Should I shut the door?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming on this horrible night out there. It's lovely to see so many of you in the meeting. So welcome to the Culture and Tourism meeting for September. So first thing is, any apologies for absence?
Councillor Zhu, Chair.
Councillor Zhu, there we are. Okay. Anybody got any declarations of interest?
No.
No? Brilliant. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is presentation by David Townsend. Is David here?
I've sent him the link. Rebecca, are you there?
I'm here. Yeah, he
So,
is just
he's-
trying the link now, apparently. Should be with us any minute.
We'll wait a minute for David.
Just check he's not coming up on the screen.
While we're waiting for David, just say to everybody, it's lovely to have Pip back on our committee. For those who don't know Pip and I were joint chairs of this committee in the last term of council up until 2021, 22, that's right. Pip was brilliant and especially great with all the marketing and the communication side of things. So it's welcome back, Pip. Very glad to have you back.
A long way away.
Hello, Pip.
Hi, how are you?
Do you know Ange?
Yeah,
No.
good, thank
Well,
you.
yes, I met you before, that's right, yeah.
And Rian on the bottom left as well.
Yeah, I can just about see you, that's the only thing, so.
I think
yeah,
everybody else
I-
you've met.
Is that Rebecca there?
That's
Yeah,
what-
hi, Pip.
Yeah.
Who's that in the bottom right corner?
Is that Claire?
Oh, it is Claire. It is Claire. Hi, sorry, Claire.
You've gone from top right to bottom right.
Yeah, you moved.
Just to say, David's waiting to be let in, apparently.
Oh, good. It's not on the screen. Let's have a look.
Is he there if you click on the participants, Ian?
Okay, a good idea.
You sent Rebecca and David the same link anyway. So,
Yeah, there it is. Thanks.
I think he's in. Hi, David.
Hello. Okay.
Yes,
Hi, David.
we can hear you, we
see-
just can't see you.
Oh,
That might be deliberate.
yeah, no, it's not. All right, got it. Yeah. Okay.
There we are. We can see you. Thanks for coming, David, to the meeting tonight. So we've done the declarations and the apologies. So it's basically over to you now to give your presentation. So welcome again.
Okay. Well, hope it's okay if I just share some slides that I've set up, so you've got something that's mood music while it's going on. Come on, share the screen.
It might require Ian to allow sharing.
Oh, is that allowed, Ian?
Oh, I'll do it my best. 1 sec.
if it's going to take time, it's not, don't worry about it.
All right, I just, where's David? I'll make you co-host, David, and that should do the trick, I think.
Okay.
There you are, you should be good to go, David.
Okay, good. There it is. Okay. Right. Okay. Right. The earliest known town twinning between communities in France and Germany took place in 1836. But twinning really became a proper thing after World War II as a vehicle for fostering friendship and understanding between different cultures and between former foes as an act of peace and reconciliation, whilst also encouraging trade and tourism. Mumbles first twinned with Kinsale, a town near Cork in Ireland, in 1992. That twinning expired years ago, partly due to the collapse of the Swansea-Cork ferry, but mostly through Kinsale's indifference and not ours. Mumbles has been twinned with Hennebont in southern Brittany since 2004. So 2024 will be the 20th anniversary, and we'll be celebrating it here in Mumbles with a visiting group from Hennebont. And in 2019, we also twinned with Havre de Grace in Maryland, USA. And I ought to add that it was at their invitation, which I take as a compliment. So what exactly is twinning? Like many fundamentally simple human activities, it can be an elusive thing to pin down. But in addition to the points I've already spoken about, understanding between cultures, peace, reconciliation, and all that, I'd say that it boils down to three things. First, friendship between communities, both in a wider sense and in a more focused way between networks in the communities. Second, what I guess I would call brand promotion of the towns involved. And third, there are some tangible benefits to the economies of the communities involved. Friendship between communities ought to be self-explanatory. I'm not sure what's to be gained by trying to explain it too much. Either you do, or you don't think it's important for members of communities to reach out to those in other countries, find common ground and shared interest with them, build and grow their relationships, stay frequently in touch with each other, speak up for and promote each other's communities, learn to speak each other's language and understand each other's cultures, and so on and so forth. Last week, when we hosted an official visit of 12 people, including the city mayor from Havre de Grace, MCC hosted an evening meal at the Golden Curry in Newton Road. After the meal, Councillor O'Neill spoke eloquently about how important it was to build and sustain the relationship between Mumbles and Havre de Grace, and by implication, Hennebont. Responding to him, Mayor Bill Martin said, and I paraphrase, that no excuse or reason is needed to form a relationship. It is a natural thing that occurs between humans, which reminds me that sometimes I've heard people argue reductively that twinning amounts to little more than a few people with disposable income getting together for a bash now and then. But communities are people, and it's only through their people and their networks of people that relationships can be formed with other communities. About what I call brand promotion, regarding a national entity like the UK, you often hear about the soft power it projects through being the home of the English language, Shakespeare, the BBC World Service, our creative industries, etc. I think it's similar at the level of Mumbles. The signs naming Mumbles as a twin at the gateways to our twins in Brittany and Maryland. The space prominently named Place de Mumbles in the central square in Hennebont. The commemorative stone plaque Mumbles gifted to Hennebont in 2019, which should be there for generations to come. The Welsh flags we saw all over Havre de Grace when we visited there last year. The collection of books and publications about Mumbles in the Hennebont Library. The news reports about Mumbles that appear periodically in their print and online media. And their way our friends, them again, in both towns talk Mumbles up at every opportunity. That's what I mean about building the Mumbles brand. Finally, the economic benefits, which seem obvious enough to me. Just last week, I would estimate that at least £2,000 was spent in restaurants cafes and pubs around the village. Our guests took every opportunity to explore our shops and hunt for souvenirs and mementos to take back. Quite commonly, individual visitors from our twin towns travel independently to Mumbles to see their friends. That's more spending power coming in. Early in 2023, Havre de Grace Twinning organised a Celtic festival of performances and stalls of all kinds. Gillian Morgan, who founded the Love Spoon Gallery on Mumbles Road, went out there with a suitcase full of love spoons for the festival, where she did very well indeed. I know the time's limited, so I hope I've said enough about the rationale for and the benefits of twinning.
There we are. Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
You're very welcome.
Has anybody got any questions they'd like to ask David about twinning, or anything that they want clarification on, or anything like that?
Yeah, just how, sorry. Just is it once a year that you do this, or is it a couple of times in the year?
We do exchange visits with Hennebont every other year. They come to us and we go to them. With Havre de Grace, because of the distance and the expense, and because it's still quite new, we're on a sort of 4-year cycle, but it got a bit messed up by COVID. So we might go the next year or the year after, and they'll probably come in 2026 or something like that.
Yeah, no, thank you for explaining it clearly, and it was a really good presentation.
Thank you.
Do you mind if I just add to David's answer on that question?
Can I just come in back to Richard, because he had his hand up first.
Yeah, it was about that question, but okay, yeah, it's fine.
Okay, Rick?
Yeah, I'm in favour of twinning. It's good idea. But to promote it to people outside the council, which is, I think we need to do, what's happening really, apart from councillors going there and councillors from over there coming here, is that how much else is actually happening?
Well, haven't actually mentioned councillors. There have been councillors going. There's usually one who represents MCC who goes to each place. But other than that, it's private individuals who go. So it's people from the two communities. And I did explain about, I gave you an example of a lady from my mother's business who went out to something. So I don't know that I can go much further than that, but it's as busy as time allows. But I don't think it particularly involves councillors, except when they choose to be involved. There are some members of Mumbles Community Council, I mean councillors, who are privately members of Twinning, but I always think of them as going there as private individuals rather than councillors.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Rebecca?
Yeah, so if I could just add a little bit to what David said. I think probably I hope he'll take this as a compliment. He's almost undersold really what the Twinning Association of Mumbles do, because apart from the visits, there's all sorts of activities that go on both here, online with our twinning communities in both Hennebont and Havre de Grace all throughout the year. So just in answer to Angela's question about how regular is it that the visits, they are on the cycle that David's mentioned, but there's a regular French conversation group, for example. I've attended online cultural exchanges with the Havre de Grace group. And then I suppose that leads me on to a bit of additional information in answer to Richard's question. There's very active social media for all, well, certainly TAM in Mumbles, Havre de Grace, and we've got resources that well, COVID kind of forced us to create online resources to help us, you know, digitally explore the different communities. But in a way, that's kind of a good thing, because those resources are then available for anyone in the world, frankly, to be able to access. So there's sort of virtual tours of parts of Havre de Grace, different, you know, they've got museums that are similar to some of our museums in Swansea, their church, for example, their environmental projects. So there's all of that. And I think it would be great if MCC's social media and its website can support that effort really to make sure it's really accessible and widely used by the whole Mumbles community.
And if I can add to that, we've done the same thing in reverse. For example, the Lighthouse Theatre Group made their Stumbles Through Mumbles series is available in Havre de Grace on their Facebook. And about about 2 years ago, when COVID was still around, we had a big cultural exchange, a sort of an online forum with Harvard of Grace. I remember Councillor O'Neill joining that and suggesting the idea of exchanging digital postcards, which is a great idea. And really following that up, last year at Christmas, both communities exchanged throughout Advent on a one-day Harvard of Grace, the next day Mumbles, recordings of songs and pieces of music and poems, etc., with a Christmas theme. And that was so successful and so popular that we've been asked to join the project again this year.
Okay, anybody else? Martin?
I'm having a bit of trouble with my connection.
We can hear you.
Yeah, I'm having a bit of trouble with my connection, so I missed a bit of the presentation, but otherwise. But, you know, as David said, and when I attended the meal last week, I'm a big fan of Twinning, I really am, right? But I think what we need to be aware of, I think, as a community council, is we need to sell it to the wider community. And I would really like to see some thought given how we sell it to the wider community, because I think, as David alluded to, it's got to be said, some people do see it as that is, if you like, something that a group of people within the community take part in, and it's maybe not perceived to be as inclusive as it might be. And as I sort of said, that could be, you could say, one way or the other on that, but that is the way that is perceived by certain people. And no matter what we would do, it probably will continue to be perceived by that by certain people. But I would be keen that we do some activity. And again, as Rebecca alluded to in what she was talking about, I think our social media platform we could utilize for this. And again, you know, what I talked to David about before in the meeting I attended previously with Harvard of Grace is the concept of digital postcards, digital storytelling. The Stumbles Through Mumbles, I think, is an excellent idea. Maybe we could do a Stumbles Through Harvard of Grace that we could put on our social media. But that's what I sort of want to raise more than anything. I really think we need to put some thought and some effort into shouting about Twinning activity and getting it more out there so people are aware of it and can value the importance. You know, I thought it was really interesting, to be honest, is in the conversation I had with the Mayor of Harvard of Grace, that he's a history teacher, for instance. And, you know, somebody, you know, if maybe we could do some online stuff about the history of Harvard of Grace and, you know, some of the important history that they had there, particularly in relation to the Civil War and the Underground Railroad network, which we talked about at the meal itself. These are all sorts of things which I think, you know, we could very much use Twinning and Twinning with Harvard of Grace and Twinning with Henbon to raise. So that's just the point I want to raise, is I think we need to think of how we can raise the profile of Twinning with these two communities and make it something to be valued, a valued activity that Mumbles Community Council are involved in.
Okay, before I come to Angela, I'll bring David back in to reply to that.
Sorry, me? Right. Just I wanted to say two things. The main thing is I welcome all of that. We really do try hard, but we're a small group of volunteers with not a great deal of clout. If we could get some of MCC's punching power behind us,
Resources, yes.
Yeah. The second thing is just talking about history and so on. We've done publications with Hennebont. That's a shared project with Hennebont. And that's more or less a guidebook to Harvard of Grace and Mumbles, which includes history and all sorts of stuff about both towns. So a lot has gone on, and as Rebecca said, there's much more that we really haven't had time to talk about.
Okay, Ange?
Yeah, I was just going to say, many years ago when you first twinned with Cork Kinsale, I remember seeing a sign as you come into Mumbles, and that created a conversation in our car at the time about, I was asking what exactly it was to my parents. So I think maybe some people just still don't know exactly what it is. And I think anything that promotes Mumbles is a great thing. And maybe, I don't know whether it's possible to get the schools, you know, like Oistmo School, pairing with a school out there, and then that would work to the advantage also of helping the local, you know, youngsters here as well.
We tried that big time, actually. 3 or 4 years ago, we had an educational officer as part of the twinning committee, and she worked her socks off trying to build links between schools in Brittany and Mumbles. Where it fell down actually was at our end. The schools here are so overstretched that they just didn't have time to respond or deal with it. There are practical difficulties. I mean, I'd love to see that happen, and I'd love to see us trying again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a governor at Oystermouth. I could try and, you know, support this.
Rebecca?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, we've got a number of governors amongst the community council, haven't we? So any support on that angle would be very welcomed, I'm sure. I was just going to say, there's a big opportunity, I think, through twinning for the digital archive. You know, with that resource being available and online, you know, it could be, well, it'll be easy to promote it in both Henebont and Havre de Grace via the relevant twinning associations, but it could be more than that. You know, it could be kind of a discussion topic, or you know, everybody who comes along look at a specific item that they've got interest in, or find something that's similar in your community to what we've got on the archive. I just think there's a lot of potential there. To sort of see the audience for that resource really grow beyond our borders. So just wanted to throw that in as well while we're discussing it.
Yeah. Okay, well, look, I'm going to just say my little bit now, and we'll thank David for coming. I mean, thank you very much for coming anyway for the first place. It's been very interesting to hear, you know, what you've been up to, and I'm glad the visit last week went so well as well. I'd just like to echo a couple of things that Martin and Angela have said, really. I mean, I would love to see the schools involved, or even maybe a rugby team on tour or something like that. You know, we have a number of sports teams around here, both rugby, football, cricket, and stuff like that. So maybe there'd be a chance for something like that. Or if we knew when, one thing I'm keen to do with this committee is restart the Boule competition. So maybe, you know, as long as we know what's happening and when your visitors are coming, then we can get a team of them to come and join us and stuff like that. The thing I'd really like to see, being a musician and having set up cultural twins with Helsinki, Copenhagen, or Aarhus and Malmo, is to see more. I mean, it obviously costs a lot of money to send people on visits like that to do concerts and then to receive them, but more on the digital side, so that, I mean, you said about the online stuff that's gone on. I haven't been aware of that, and I'm sure there's other councillors here who haven't been aware of the stuff, so they could join in. But I mean, we, as an example, we have Swansea Bay Symphony Orchestra on Saturday doing a proms concert in All Saints. They've just had a festival. It'd be nice if there was some way that, even if they're not broadcast live, they could be recorded and uploaded for people to view in their own time and stuff like that. So the cultural side, being a cultural committee, and the cultural side of the music, drama, literature, stuff like that, is what really interests me. And if there was a way we could increase that, and the participation between all the twinning countries and stuff like that, and some new ones, they could just be cultural twins rather than chartered twins and stuff like that. Then, you know, that's the road I'd like to go down to, so the community will see the benefit more when they see the amount of stuff that goes on, and things which are going to appeal to all the community, like your sports, like your arts and stuff like that. But anyway, I don't know if you want to come back on that, David, or
Say very briefly, that's a great idea, and other cultural, orchestras and choirs and so on could follow where Mumbles a cappella have already gone. We have the opportunity for organisations, I suppose, to join as associate members. Mumbles a cappella is one such, and its performances, because it's involved with twinning, its performances are frequently on TAM's Facebook page, which is accessible in Hennebont and accessible in Havre de Grace. So that gets a lot of an airing. It'd be great if we could get other organisations like that to join.
so David, just as a very final thing from me, would it be helpful, do you think, if there was some sort of digital equipment that the council could maybe look at getting, so we could film these events more in Mumbles? Because, if you hire a private company in to film a concert, to record a concert, it costs a bloody fortune, as you know. So maybe a good starting point from us with some of our funding towards town would be to get some digital equipment.
Well, I suggest, as I think Ian knows, I've got a rush because I've got an engagement at 7:30 and I've got to travel there. But that sounds like a great idea. I suggest we continue this conversation offline.
There we are. Well, look, I'd like to just thank you all on behalf of everybody here, for coming in and giving us a presentation and answering the questions. So thanks, David, for coming anyway.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.
It's just on for this item as well, so I'm going to say goodbye as well.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
I suppose we should restart the standing orders we didn't stop. No, that's fine, because it's part of the agenda, isn't it?
No, that's fine. That's a,
Can we just check, are there any recommendations or actions coming out of that?
No, because I think that will need further discussion
Okay,
before we can make any decisions on stuff like that.
Right.
Okay, back to the agenda then, and minutes of the previous meeting. Would somebody like to propose and second those?
I'll propose them if I was there.
Yes, you were. Ange, was that a hand? Yeah, thank you.
So who proposed that?
Martin proposed,
Martin,
Ange was second.
Thank you.
Okay, the next agenda item is another co-option. It's a lady called Elizabeth Fuller, who happens to be a friend of mine. I'll tell you a little bit about Liz. I'm sure she wouldn't mind me telling you all. She's 48, went to Oxford School, she's basically an ex-Miss Wales and Miss Great Britain who runs an actors agency in LA, of which she spends about a month out in LA, and the rest of the time she's living here with her mum, looking after her mum who's got dementia. So she's traveled the world as a presenter on television, an actress, a model, and she's, she ain't no bimbo. This is a really clever girl who really wants to get involved in community of Mumbles and, raising the profile of it. And she said if we can use her name to do it, then she's happy to do it. She really wants to, help us here. So that's my proposal, that we co-opt Liz onto this committee. She's prepared to join from Zoom if she's in LA and stuff like that. So anybody got any questions, or should we take it to a vote? Richard?
Just what you say about the background and everything. She sounds like an ideal person to have aboard.
Yeah. She's lovely. She's been to Mumbles Fest, thought it was wonderful. Just wants to see the best for the area, and she's got good connections as well. So I'm just going to put this to the vote then, if nobody else has got anything, any questions. So all those in favour of Liz joining the committee?
Okay.
Brilliant, carried. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, we've done the Paul Ralph is the grants officer at Swansea City Council. The reason I've asked him to come, and he can't, he's not here obviously, He's singing in Tabernacle Choir, which I'm playing for at the moment, so we were sort of reacquainted. He's told me about the grant funding that is available, and the money is still there in the pot for the cliff lighting, and stuff like that. So he did tell me on Sunday he was unable to come. He was going to look at somebody else to come, but that obviously hasn't happened. So would you be happy if we defer that to the next meeting?
Yeah.
Brilliant, thanks. Okay. Live performances outside Ostream Centre. So I'm going to hand over to Claire for this one. Claire, are you on mute?
Sorry. Yeah, it's something that we've tried before, and we had Mick Luck, we've had Dan Stockton playing in the village at any time of the year, actually, and it really lifts the village. And I think no time more so than the present, with all the issues with our local traders, than to try and lift, you know, trade for them. And we did have brilliant feedback about how the music traveled up and down the street, brought people out, and people actually really enjoyed sitting around having a coffee. And I think if we make it a regular sort of thing on weekend mornings, maybe, or just one morning a weekend, sort of maybe around 10 till 1 or 10 till 12. I'm not precious about the time, but better to catch the coffee trade, because we don't want to pick up, you know, maybe a beer trade, because we don't want to do that anyway. But it would be really lovely to increase the number of the size of the footfall on our streets for traders. So I would love to be able to bring back local or not so local buskers, and just give them our you know, the Ostream steps to just go ahead, put their bucket out, and you know, entertain our locals. We can give them some social media coverage and give them a shout out. And I think people would be really keen, both people coming to listen and people busking. I know the RNLI choir are really keen to come out, and you know, we've got various charities. It could be choirs, could be school choirs, could be all genres of music. I think it would be really great for the community anyway.
Thanks, Claire. Anybody want to ask anything? Or Mart?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, just a couple of questions on practicalities more than anything. Big supporter of this anyway. But like, when have we had any sort of feedback from the Ostream group, gang, crowd on what their take is on this?
Well, not this time round, but we did last time round. But that was because there was a concern that we were going to do it later in the day and pick up a beer crowd. So this was only ever meant to be earlier in the day, and you know, catch the early trade, you know, the morning and lunchtime trade, really. I don't think there would be a problem if that was the case, but no, I haven't run it by them because we wanted to bring it to committee first.
Yeah, and also it's got to be said in the, you know, the way things are now, we don't really have to run it past them. You know, I suppose, you know, if you, how can I say, good manners maybe in some way, but at the same time, you've got to think about what's best for the community. And then the other point is then maybe on a practical point is any sort of rubbish or you know, stuff that's left behind afterwards. Have we got any contingency to deal with that?
I don't think that would actually be an issue, Martin, but we could always just say to the buskers themselves, do a quick recce, you know, have a look at it. One of us will be down there anyway, I would imagine, because if we've got them busking, I would like to have some sort of rota really, so that one of us could be down there, or sort of someone does one, you know, sits down there for half an hour and just make sure that they're there for the end of close, because some might need to use our electricity, in which case we might need to be there with a set of keys. Ideally, everyone would come self-sufficient and wouldn't need our electricity, but I do
No,
think it would be good to have either a councillor or a member of staff on hand to do a quick check.
It's just, you know, I'm very cynical about the in general a lot of the time when it comes to rubbish, and I just sort of think if we attract people there to have coffee and sandwiches or what have you, that not a lot of people, but some people will just leave it there, and I'm just concerned about any bad publicity that we would have, and that we'd have some contingency or something to just make sure it's cleared away afterwards so that the place is
I
there.
don't think
But
we
you know,
need
as
to be yeah.
yeah.
I think we should
It's
just try it.
a-
I think this is going to be
Yeah.
a really easy, and I think it's not like a festival where we'd need to pay to have, you know, the team
No.
on standby to do a clear up or anything. But I will certainly make sure, you know, that
Yeah.
if it ever did become an issue, we just ground it, and it would be as
well,
simple
yeah.
as that.
I don't think it should be an issue like that, but just, you know, I just wouldn't like to see it being left in a state afterwards.
Of
or what have you.
course.
No.
It's just something to bear in mind, like, you know. There you
Paul,
go.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I was just checking whether everybody's seen the report that Kerry put together on the live performances. It was circulated with the agenda.
Yeah.
Because the report she put together is to try and get the committee to come up with some of the information to allow a report back to next full council. Because there's lots of things in there which I think probably should be discussed and bottomed out. So you can get the go ahead then at the next council meeting in October.
yeah, on about funding for this, Paul, I mean, I was going to ask you, would this be something we need to do as a budget proposal for next year? Was that what you would advise?
If it's starting from next year, then yes, that's the obvious route is to put forward a budget proposal. If you're going to do something this year up to the 31st of March, then you're probably looking for some environment. So any budgets which are underspent, which you could transfer across to fund it this year, and then next year, if you put a budget proposal forward, then that can be considered by council in January.
I'd certainly
It'd be
like
nice to get it
a
going.
couple before Christmas, like maybe some choirs doing some carols leading up to Christmas on the Saturdays. I think that might be quite nice. And you know, with somebody, if it's a school choir, we're not going to have to pay them anyway because they're not professionals. They're just a school choir doing it. But I think going forward, I mean, I'll have a sit down with Claire. I'll bring you back in a minute, Claire. But I'll have a sit down with Claire at some point now, and we'll go through all the logistics and try and cost something up and work a plan out that we can bring back and have a solid proposal. Unless there's anything Claire wants to add to that or say.
Yeah, I mean, I think we might even be overthinking it. I think it's just something that could start this Saturday. It's as simple as that. It's about getting a busker, or you know, buskers down. I'm sure people would really love to do it. You know, if people are there to put their own buckets out, we don't need. You know, we can talk about the money situation again, but I don't actually think that a lot of the buskers would expect to be paid if they're able to, you know, make their own money on the street, and we're not going to charge anyone for the space. So I think people would just love the opportunity to come and play. Not everybody, of course. And if there's a proposal in place, if we're going to get musicians that we want to pay to come down, I think that's different. But I think busking per se is, you know, about people just, you know, I know that there are certain people I've spoken to that would be really happy to just have the location to go ahead. So anyway, I'm happy to listen to everything, but I think if we're talking about next year, then that's 3 years we've been waiting to put a busker out on the street, and it just seems a bit long-winded really for something that could be quite simple.
Okay, Rian.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, I just want to say I think it's a fantastic idea. I love walking through the city centre and hearing buskers. I think it gives a lovely atmosphere, and I just think it's a really, really nice idea.
Great, Rich.
Oh my, he's actually good.
Right, just a quick one. Reference the RNLI singers. I'm actually a member. So I am on the right committee. I'm a man of culture after all, despite what you lot think. Now, if you want to contact, we've got a WhatsApp group. Any money we get goes to the RNLI anyway. Just to let you know.
Yeah.
Okay, I think, look, let's take this forward. I mean, the proposal is, do we want buskers? Simple yes or no. So I'm going to put that to the vote. So all those in favours of thinking that having busking or performers, buskers, stroke performers outside the Osprey, at times decided by us, is a good idea, hands up.
I think Paul is trying to come in now.
Yeah, you can wait. You could do the vote first, and I'll come back in.
Okay.
Okay, that's carried anyway. Paul?
Yeah, what I was going to say was that the practicalities of the thing is what Kerry's trying to make out. She's asking things like what's the frequency performances, day performances. Do they need access to the electric from the Osprey? What's the staff availability? Does it need staff? And then about
do we need
about payments?
Do we need a license? Do we need a license?
No, we don't need a license for busking.
We don't.
Not in Swansea.
So I think what Kerry
Paul.
would like to see is a sort of response to those
that's fair enough.
Those issues to go to full council in October.
Okay, I think there's valid points there that do need answers, but I think for the moment the important thing is that as a committee we agree, yes, we'd like to see some performances there. If I'm speaking on behalf of Claire now in saying this, but I'd imagine they're going to take place on a Saturday somewhere between the hours of 10 and 2, and how frequently they are will depend on who we can get and availability of people who want to do it. And we can't answer the last question at the moment, which is on about staff availability, because we don't know if a staff member can do it until we know we've got somebody to do it. You want to come in, Claire?
No, sorry, Rob. It's fine.
No, it's about no. Push Claire.
I was just going to say, I think you're absolutely right. Well, if we did a little social media push and asked people if they wanted to do it, we could have a little system. We can have a rota system in the book, and then we can allocate staff and speak to people. And as you're rightly saying, we won't know until we know what our booking is looking like for that week.
Yeah. And it's maybe a nice way for local businesses to get involved and sponsor a performer or sponsor a session as well. Just a thought. Okay, well, look, I'll have a sit down with Claire and Martin, and the three of us will have a chat through these logistic things. But in general, people seem happy and, well, overwhelmingly happy to have some sort of things. So the next thing is Welsh event, which is something Rian has mentioned to me. So I'm going to pass over to Rian for this.
Thanks, Rob. So this is just an idea that I've got. It's very kind of in its very early stages of planning. A celebration of Wales. I would like to see an event, possibly at the Ostream Centre, a fun event with some Welsh themed activities going on, fun activities, maybe performance of clog dancing and fiddle playing. And I've spoken to had a meeting with Thomas from Mentor Iaith at Shopkey Tower. He's got lots of contacts. He's extremely on board. Maybe a cookery demonstration of Welsh food, not Welsh cakes, not leek soup, but something a bit different, but still Welsh. And just celebrate Welsh culture. So I would welcome any ideas, how to make it a fun event, possibly on a Saturday. That's it really. Is
this something you would like to bring back? Give us a chance to have a think about ideas and get back to you, email you them, and then bring it back to the next meeting.
Yes, please.
Okay, there we are.
Any ideas, any contacts, but just a fun event, a celebration of Wales, and just celebrate Welsh culture.
Okay, so
Can I
Mark?
just come in?
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say to Rian, I think as well, you need to start to put some thought into, resource in it, costs
Well,
and sort of stuff.
Yeah, okay. I don't think it'll cost much.
Resource cost.
Joe.
No,
Yeah.
we don't worry about that. But all I'm sort of saying is, I think we need to work this up and come up with a proposal. But people coming up with ideas, we need to have something that we can take to full council and sort of say, this is the idea. This is approximately how much it's going to cost, because that will give something concrete for people to vote on.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, just saying, I like the idea. I just quickly looked at when the 1st of March is, and it's a Friday. So if we are going to do this, maybe we could book out, if it's going to be the Austrian Hall, book it out soon, and then get the finer details. Because I think it would be nice to do it on St. David's Day, so that we as a village, as a community, are doing something to celebrate St. David's Day. But obviously, we have to maybe check if it's available for that date and who else we're going to have. But I think it's a really nice idea.
Okay, yeah, good point. Thanks, Ange.
Okay, let's get our thinking caps on and we'll come back next month. Any ideas, please send them to Rian, and then she can collate them and get a sort of a document together with ideas for us. And she can send it to Rian.
What I was going to say, should I send away last week when I had the I can't remember who it was, but somebody wanted ideas from councillors about suitable sites. Should I send an email to all councillors?
Yes, you can send it to all councillors, yeah. There we are. Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Nearly there. So the next one is the cliff lighting proposal. Now, I'm going to defer this for the simple reason that Paul Ralph isn't here to explain all the funding stuff. But basically, I'll just quickly come to Paul Bynon. With the money we did have for the cliff lighting, that's been spent or put somewhere else now, isn't it?
Yeah, that was used, I think, year before last to help balance the budget. So that's gone now.
So that would need to be a budget proposal.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think they will pay up to 70% match funded. Is that right, Paul?
I don't know. I can't remember. It was a long time ago now, but I think we need to get that information off Paul Ralph.
Yeah. Okay. Until we've got that information, we'll defer it and hopefully have something to come back next month with. Okay. Budget monitoring report to the 30th of the 8th, 23. Do you want to take us through the two last items, Paul?
Yeah, if I just explain why I've come along to talk about budget monitoring is this was put in my appraisal last year by Steve. He wanted me to try and help raise councillors' awareness of budget monitoring. So I did agree to come to all committees to talk about it. This is really the first chance I've had. Each committee is allocated a budget in January when the budget's approved by council. And a simple definition of budget monitoring is just reviewing reports to identify any significant variations, both positive and negative. So if you're overspending or if you're underspending, and then taking action to rectify those variations. So it is quite simple, but what I've seen in the past, and I think other people who've been attending the meetings or other staff, is that the budget monitoring reports tend to be very late on the agenda. So they just get nodded through, or even I've heard some councillors will say, well, Paul will look after that for us, which I will, but it is still the committee's responsibility to monitor their budget and to deliver their budget. So that's really the background to this and what it's all about. The budget monitoring reports I send each month, I send firstly to the chairs, and then they get sent to each committee, and they get summarised in the report I do to council every month. You'll get a budget monitoring report which shows you all the expenditure through the committee, all the income through the committee, and then it compares that figure with the budget that the committee has. So the final column then is a net position, which is either over or underspend. So that's what committees really need to be concentrating on, to look to see where there's any variations, to to ask questions why there's variations. Obviously, I won't be at every meeting, but there will be action points which can come out of the meeting. So you can ask questions, which Ian will record then as an action point, send to me, and I can report back then to the next committee. Or if it's that urgent, then you can email me or contact me straight after the meeting. So that wouldn't be a problem either. The other report you get there, will be a list of all expenditure transactions and all income transactions. So that's everything that's been spent and everything that's been received by the committee. As I said, you've got two potential problems: over or underspends, both equally as important. An overspend is important because one of the financial regulations say if you can't spend by more than 10% over your budget without approval of council, which is something that which I think we need to be looking at that more in depth than we have in the past. And underspend, obviously, if you're underspending, you're not spending the money that the taxpayers that's been raised from the taxpayers. So it does work both ways. So really, what I'm saying on budget monitoring is, please look at them. Please ask questions if you don't understand anything or you need more information, and really take action on what you see in those budget monitoring reports.
Thank you, Paul. And just to ask you a quick question, which was going to come up. I don't know if you're coming to the Mumbles Fest debrief on Wednesday.
Yeah, I will be.
You will be. That we'll leave it then. It was just that I was going to ask you how much we took. That's all.
Okay. Yeah, I've finished. I've started doing a report, so I'll finish that off in time for Wednesday. There
we are. Thanks, Paul. Thanks very much. So the last thing is the budget for 24-25. We're starting to think about it a bit earlier than we have done in the past. Kerry rang me up and said, from October, basically, you're going to start. So I'm assuming it's the same thing as last year, Paul, where we have the budget form proposals, which every who wants something has to fill in and cost it as well.
Yep.
So what I'd like for, and it'd be an agenda point for next meeting, the October meeting, is starting to look at budgets proposals and suggestions.
Can I just talk you through the timetable quickly, Chair?
Of course.
What we're hoping to do this year is to get the budget approved by council, the scheduled council meeting on the 9th of January. So instead of having a special meeting towards the end of the month, we do it at the scheduled meeting, which means that you've got this meeting, you've got October and November, unlikely to be any meetings in December, obviously because of Christmas and meetings being during the Christmas period or scheduled meetings. So there isn't a great deal of time, although we are starting slightly earlier. There isn't a lot of time to get things done, because what really should happen is at the November meeting, the budget should be recommended to council in January. So there isn't really a great deal of time. So what you need to do is start looking at your current budgets, which are on the budget monitoring report, which was circulated with the agenda. Have a look at what new budgets you want to put forward. I did circulate the form to be completed earlier today, and that what we're also hoping to do is to have a budget scrutiny meeting sometime in December, which we did the year before last, I think, which is all new budget proposals, whether they're new schemes or new proposals, or whether they're extending existing budgets. Would be for then the chair or the councillor who put those budget proposals forward to describe them to council, and then for councillors to ask any questions on it. So when it comes to January, then everybody's much more informed on what a budget proposal is meant to achieve, what the costs are, and what they can make an informed decision then on including it or not. So I think what I would say was you really need to start thinking about your budget over the next month, and then have a reasonably clear idea by the October meeting, and then by November you can sign it off, and then I can put it together for the report to council on the 9th of January.
Okay, Paul, and you quite rightly said about the December meeting is gonna clash with the holiday period, so. Yep. Being the just before New Year, I suppose an emergency thing we could do is call a special meeting of the committee in December, earlier in the month, if needed.
You could do that, yeah, I think that would work. But you'd have to have it probably in the first 2 weeks, I would have thought, to make sure you've got sufficient councillors who are available, obviously, because other commitments leading up to Christmas.
Yeah,
So maybe first, or certainly first and at last week at the latest of December, the second week of December.
there we are. Okay, thanks. I think Ian, do you want to say something? You will.
Oh, I was just going to check, Paul, a couple of things. You know, the budget scrutiny meeting in December, would that be the normal full council meeting or a separate meeting?
No, it'll be a separate meeting, Ian.
Oh, thanks. Okay. That's it. I mean, just as an aside, just for everyone to know this, Paul's forwarded me a new form. There's actions now. They're going to be completed on a pro forma. So there's going to be more monitoring, I suppose, of actions being created. I'm creating actions. I'll be sending them out. Initially, I sent them to Kerry and Paul to check I was doing it okay, but I'll be sending them to the chair. So I suppose from my experience, they've been sort of left, but they'll be chased up a bit more now prior to the next meeting for people to be aware of that. Really.
Brilliant. Okay, only thing left is date and time of next meeting.
Right.
Did you put about Liz being a recommendation for council to approve? Because I think they've got to approve.
I will do that.
You would.
I will do that.
Probably the busking should, the live
the
performances
busking,
should be a
yes.
recommendation as well.
Recommendation as well.
Yes,
Busking,
recommendation.
Busking and Liz. Busking, Liz. Right, the next council meeting is on the 25th of October.
There we are. Thank you very much, everybody, for not coming out on this horrible night and staying in your nice warm homes, to coming down, and see you all soon.
What a
So
very
windy
pleasant
outside,
meeting.
isn't it?
Okay, bye.
Paul, before you go,
Bye.
Paul,
Yep.
are you in the office? Did you say you were in the office tomorrow?
I was going to pop down. Yeah, I've got a dentist appointment at 20 to 2, so I'll probably come down about 12:30, something like that.
I've got a card for Diane's birthday Friday. If I leave it with Elaine, would you be happy to put a little squiggle on it?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'll do that.
All right, I'll do that. All right.
Okay.
I'm in tomorrow. See you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, ta-ra.
Website, set up a